Hello, you're watching RTD's English News Edition. Thank you for joining us. Here are the major stories. The head of state chairs the inauguration of the Training Center for Hospitality and Tourism in Arta. The long-awaited bridge of Italy has been reopened this morning by the Prime Minister. And before starting with the details of our major stories in this edition, here is a message of condolence from the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, who delivered today on Thursday a paid tribute to the memory of the late Colonel Major Ali Diri, one of the most well-known officers of the Djiboutian army, and deceased this afternoon. In his message, the head of state praised the memory of an willful patriot who has always fulfilled the duty of the country with prayer. The late Ali Gap will forever be remembered and be in our minds for his remarkable contribution to the strengthening of our unity and national cohesion, said President Gele. An outstanding composer, he constantly put his talent as a narrator and wizard of words at the service of peace, stability and fraternity, he added. A tireless worker, he was also able to give a taste for perseverance and surpassing himself to his disciplines members of the strategic group of our army, which he had been directing for more than 20 years, said the head of state, who has expressed saddened condolence to the family, relatives and friends of the deceased. May God welcome him in his eternal paradise with the President Ismail Margele. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And now to the details of this edition. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, along with the First Lady Khadra Mohammed Haid, inaugurated today the sectoral training center in hotel and tourism in Arta under the supervision of the MENFOP. Upon their arrival, the population of the Arta region came in large numbers to greet them, and the President and the First Lady of the country were welcomed in turn by the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the members of the government, the Prefect of the region of Arta, the body of the army, and the students considered full-fledged workers under the guidance of the professionals in the profession. The Center of Arta Tourism and Hospitality Trades is a complex consisting of a hotel restaurant open to the public and a youth training establishment. Its missions are multiplied because it provides additional training for young people to acquire the skills needed to practice the trades of the hotel catering and tourism. It offers continuous training for companies in the hotel and tourism sector for training and updating the skills of their staff. This center, a complex of economic infrastructure and professional training, is among others composed of a hotel and many classrooms. The poolside hotel combines all ranges of office bearing, ranging from simple rooms to rooms designed to accommodate entire families through double rooms and VIP suites. It also incorporates bungalows whose association with the fresh and gentle air of Arta is able to connect guests with an ideal atmosphere and climate.
على بركة الله.
اعرض الجاي بسرعه
After his arrival, the President of the Republic and the First Lady have each of their sides made a guided tour of the various premises of this integrated complex. This center offers continuous training for companies in the hotel of tourism sector for training and updating the skills of their staff. In addition, the center is competent for the realization of the services for external customer service in the space of application, kitchenery, restaurant, rooms, and tourist animations. In addition to these missions, there are responsibilities related to the management of activities, focus on the achievement, evaluation of certification of learning, and this is the development or revision of the establishment project in accordance with the guidelines set by the center, and the center offers different types of air-conditioned rooms, individual, collective, bungalows, and studios. For a large public and a large swimming pool, a mini golf course, a playground for children, a fitness room for adults, a cleaning service, laundry activities of tourist animations are offered to the residents during their stays since the customers can take advantage of the recreational days and sports-themed evening, among others. And once the visit ended, the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Margile, followed a projection of the complex in 3D with government members and wise men in the region. The ministry has deployed significant funds to rehabilitate the summer resorts infrastructure to make it a center of excellence with the capacity and scope to anticipate the skilled human resources needs of the companies in the area. Thus was created the Sector Center for Training in the Trades of Hospitality and Tourism of Arta. Arta's Hospitality and Tourism Sector Training Center is a complex of public, hotel, restaurant and youth training establishment. Its missions are multiplied because it provides additional training for young people to acquire the skills needed to practice the trade of the hotel, catering and tourism. It offers continuous training for companies in the hotel and tourism sector for training and updating the skills of their staff. In addition, the center is competent for the realization of the services for an external customer service, as well as in addition to these missions, there are responsibilities related to management of activities focused on the achievement, evaluation and certification of learning. This is the development of revision of the establishment project in accordance with the guidelines set by the central hierarchy. In his speech, the head of state has congratulated the ministry and all who worked hard to realize this center. He said that this site is required by an interconnection consultant, also a qualified mechanical engineer who is familiar with repairing and responding to customers' daily needs if required repairing and updating. There is also no need for quick response to emergencies and to also ensure the security of the tourists. The site should be assigned to an administrator's mask that allows him or her to access a full-featured group and always submit reporting information to the system's reader. It's a fact that this center is the only one that needs to be the first for a year to come, must be a center of governance in the field of mathematics as well as training needed for foreign languages. Under the chairmanship of Muhammad Ali Hummat, the 5th session of the second ordinary session of the year 2018 of the National Assembly was held on Thursday in the hemicycle of Parliament. This meeting, which saw the participation of Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, ministers and all parliamentarians, had for agenda for the consolidation of a bill, namely Bill number 219, establishing the system of quota in elective functions and in the administration of the state. After the opening of the sitting of the President of the National Assembly, the Vice President of the Law Commission, the Honorable Hassan Ahmed Billil, presented the verbal report of the Standing Committee on Legislation and General Administration. In her statement, the Vice President explained that the reform of the government tends to reinforce and enhance the representation of the number of women elected to the National Assembly and executive functions of the state. In the same breath, the honorable member pointed out that the great majority of the parliamentarians and all the members of the government have agreed on the historical scope of such an initiative, whose main artisan is none other than His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, who has worked tirelessly for the establishment of a parity both in parliament and in decision making. This Thursday, January 11, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, in the presence of the Mayor of the city of Djibouti and several members of the government and parliament, inaugurated the reopening of the Bridge of Italy. Nearly 10 months that the bridge was closed to all traffic for security reasons and rehabilitation work, and this reopening will again allow to improve the conditions of transport of the population of Balbala and the surroundings of Djibouti. Present at this ceremony were members of the government, the Mayor of Djibouti, the Secretary General of the Prime Minister, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Equipment and Transport, the Acting Director General of the Djiboutian Agency of Roads, as well as many other guests. And this event was very well received by the population, who now has another access for the connection Djibouti, Rastika and Balbala. Here are the remarks of the Minister of Equipment.
We have opened today the Humbuli Bridge, which was closed after the month of April 2017 for a renewal work. This bridge was built 25 years ago and still is essential for our country and citizens, whom most of them live in Balbala. It was time to renew it, and the traffic jams are now over for the year of 2018.
And as for the Prime Minister, Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed talked about the importance of this bridge for the inhabitants of the capital. Let's listen to him.
Since few months, this bridge was in a renewal work, and as you all know, it was since 25 years that this bridge was functional. At the time when the bridge was built, there were not too much traffic, and it was essentially made for big trucks, that were transporting goods to Ethiopia. Since the population has increased so much, our citizens went to live in Balbala, and the traffic flow has tremendously increased. But this bridge is not the only bridge that our economy will be based on. We're soon planning to build more bridges, and one will be based at Nagar next to the railway, and the other one will be based next to the Palmare school. So I'm announcing all of those projects to inform our population that we have other good projects on the way to direct the development of our country and to facilitate work creations.
And to mark the inauguration of this long-awaited bridge by the Djiboutians, many users have taken the road since the opening of the Bridge of Italy. This is how the head of state, Ismail Omar Guelleh, was among the first to have borrowed this rehabilitated bridge. The president was on his way to Arta, where he was presiding, as you saw at the beginning of our news, the inaugural ceremony of the Arta Hotel Training and Tourism Center. The president was very appreciated and applauded. In addition to the project to open the traffic on the Italian bridge this morning, the Minister of Equipment and Transport, Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa, also chaired the launch ceremony of the commercial operations of the railway connecting to Addis Ababa. The ceremony saw the participation of the Ethiopian authorities, including the Ethiopian Minister of Transport, Mr. Ahmed Shide, the Ambassador of Ethiopia to Djibouti, Adibo Filamon, and main Djiboutian authorities and officials of the Chinese company. The new passenger railway will improve trade between Djibouti and Ethiopia and will strengthen the integration in advance between the two countries. In this project will strengthen economic and human ties between the Republic of Djibouti and Ethiopia and contribute to the development efforts of two countries. The railway line is operational after 4 years of work, and it will reduce the travel time between the two capitals and the first cross-border electrical railway line in Africa. The project was carried out by the Chinese company China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, realized with the contribution of the Chinese capital. This project constitutes a new step also in the Sino-African cooperation, and this new railway line will boost the economy of the region and promote trade between Djibouti and Ethiopia.
Practice. Second, we will build a local Djibouti and Ethiopia operation and management team through our capacity building program. Third, by transport of cargo and passengers, it can boom economic development and employment of the two countries.
And let's hear more from the Ethiopian Minister of Transport.
I exceptionally want to congratulate and thank again Excellency President Ismail Omar Guelleh and Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn for their visionary leadership and encouragement and the facilitations all along the start of the railway project. They have been giving leadership for both Djibouti ministers and Ethiopian ministers to work together to deliver on time and on quality this huge railway asset. I would also want to thank the Ethio-Djibouti Joint Ministerial Commission, which has been established to oversee the construction of the project, as well as also now to look after the operation of the railway line. And both different authorities of Djibouti and Ethiopia, as well as ministers from Djibouti and Ethiopia, has been working tirelessly, collectively, to deliver this project. And now we are also working to make sustainable and safe operation of the railway company. So I would like also to thank. The history of railway defines partly the history of relations between Ethiopia and Djibouti. It has been more than 100 years since the first railway line has been erected between Addis Ababa to Djibouti, and that was part of the development of Djibouti and part of the development of history of Ethiopia. It has linked both people for the last century. The new standard railway gauge we have now completed and now started operation is also going to serve for the coming century both people toward greater prosperity.
As for the Djiboutian Minister of Transport, said that the generations of today and tomorrow will associate their names with this electrical railroad. It is a very useful line that the many expected and which will be beneficial for the Djiboutian and Ethiopian populations. The Minister of Energy in charge of Natural Resources, Younis Ali Gedi, chaired yesterday in his cabinet the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the International Society of Hydrocarbons of Djibouti and the company Ruby Terminal. Indeed, the general managers of the two aforementioned companies, in this case Dabar Adawi and Mr. François Terressin, respectively have concluded this agreement, which lays the foundation of the partnership between the two companies with a view to setting up a new multi-product storage terminal in the Demerjuk area, the future industrial hub of the Republic of Djibouti. Both parties welcomed the signing of this protocol and expressed their determination to make this project a reality as soon as possible, given the current situation in our country in the storage of products in common use. The preparations for legislative elections scheduled for 23 February 2018 are still ongoing. In this regard, the Djibouti Prefecture Election Service has begun for several days the operations of printing voter cards, which have about 125,689 cards. These operations are conducted under the supervision of the Prefect of Djibouti, Osman Billegire. For their part, the Sub-Prefect in the 6 arrondissements of the capital and 2 Deputy Prefects of Djibouti signed these cards before distributing them to the electors. Mr. Osman Bille made a statement on national television saying the preparations were on the way as planned for the upcoming legislation elections. He pointed out that the voters' cards will be delivered after printing and signature in the 6 districts of the capital to be distributed to the voters who will vote in the 296 polling stations of the city of Djibouti. In on the international news, President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that the United States could conceivably return to the Paris Climate Accord, although he stopped short of signaling any move in the direction. The process of leaving is long and complex, and Trump's comments will renew questions about whether he actually intends to withdraw or simply wants easier U.S. emissions targets. A full U.S. pullout could jeopardize global efforts to limit average warming to under 2 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial revolution levels. The landmark agreement, which entered into force last November, calls on countries to combat climate change and to accelerate and intensify the actions and investment needed for a sustainable low carbon future and to adapt to the increasing impact of climate change. It is here we close our edition. Thank you for joining us on our TV channel. Have a good night.